So hello again everyone, welcome back to Dynamic Racing League's DTM. I am your commentator as always, Nuke Shot off Apple. That's going to be a running theme of today. I unfortunately have hiccups, so oh dear, I've never done this like this before, but come on, we'll see how this goes. Anyway, welcome back to Dynamic Racing League's DTM. We are here at Blue Moon Bay. This is really going to be a pain in the neck. I do apologise in advance for sounding like a choking pig. That's just how my throat's deciding to be today. Dear. So we are here at Blue Moon Bay, hosted the preview event, if you recall. I believe that was streamed. Where we saw this guy, GRM Bandit, take the win. Since then he's swapped teams, still with a similar colour scheme with the blue and purple. So he switched teams to Moonshine Motorsports, ran by John Wandering. And as his replacement for Nuke Shot Motorsport, we actually drafted in the Series 4 Amateur GT and LMP champion Nilsman. So going to be very interesting to see how they do here today in car number 62, the Breitling sponsored car. Widebare just grazing the wall again in that very brightly coloured and very appealing to the eyes livery that he is running there. Of course, he is driving for HKS Vertigo. Going to be interesting to see how he does in this one. GRM Bandit, of course, and Spinnerkoppen, who, if I recall correctly, was having a good race here last time, but it sort of went away from him a bit. So the Team Spirit Adidas car here again, hopefully to try and right some wrongs. John Wandering, of course, the CVS pharmacy car. I'm just gonna have to quickly go and get myself a glass of water real quick. I do apologise for this unprofessionalism, but it is getting a bit chronic. I'll leave you with an onboard of John Wandering, who will eventually take you through a lap of the track. We're going on board with him now. See you back when I get a glass of water or something. Okay, my apologies for that. I'm back. I've got a glass of water. So far it hasn't helped, but hopefully it will go away before the action starts. Regarding other cars, we have Dynamic Carbon here once again for Dynamic Esports, rocking the G-Ready car. The bright white and blue has become a staple of the series. We have Sailor making the return. Here's another driver then. Gonna be interesting to see how they do. They did quite well at Nürburgring, if I recall, in the next gen sponsored car. Still having more and more people join. We've had a recent influx of drivers, so quite a fleshed out grid. I am Groot in the very iconic pink Fujitsu car. They're currently 7th, this is free practice still. Good to see them making a return. 8th currently is Rob for a Fab, or Rob as I shall probably call them from now on. I believe this is Dark Racer on GT Planet, if it is indeed car 14. Does it say? No, it doesn't. I can't quite get a close enough look at it. It is indeed car 14, so that is indeed Dark Racer on GT Planet, meaning it is the second of the HKS Vertigo cars with the bright green livery. So quite a fan of green, in case that wasn't obvious. So hoping they do well here today. TSR Stig, someone who was very strong at Nürburgring as well as at Interlagos, if I recall. So going to be very interesting to see how they do here today in the Dakwa machine. Just going on to a lap. Houdini Myers makes a return. Oh, Houdini Myers every single time. I get that wrong, and it's annoying. But he's back. Car 23, the Martini livery BMW M6. Always good to see. The more nuke shot, the better. And qualifying is about to get started. We're gonna have a is it 20-minute session or 15-minute session? I'll quickly check that in my notes. It is a 15-minute session, so similar to how it is with the Super Formula. So it is currently GRM Bandit for Moonshine Motorsports who's leading them off. Regarding the circuit today, we've got great weather, no chance of rain because it is GT Sport and we haven't had any sign of a rain update in quite some time, so that's always good. The circuit itself being a roval, so very high speed as you go down the start finish straight, and of course the first and the last corners in particular. There's a straight in the middle of the circuit as well, but it's also combined with a very technical section through the second sector. Just go on board with GRM Bandit as I still continue to die, taking a very wide entry. Brings the car to the apex nicely, runs out wide, get close to the wall, something most American race car drivers know all too well. Bringing the car nicely to the left through 4, then to the right again, making the apex. under the bridge, the road access bridge, and going through the hairpin leading up towards the double apex. Slightly more open than the hairpin. Very easy to run wide, as I believe we saw in the preview event, so a lot of teams will be hoping to have gained experience from that preview event regarding that, and of course the last turn, part of the banked tri-oval section. And the first lap time is going to be a 1 minute 7.693. Houdini Myers immediately goes faster with the 107.4. And in fact TSR Jimmy has just gone faster for everyone with the 107.158. So strong start for TSR Jimmy. They're filling in for King of Torque here today. Good old Jim Jam stuck right behind Wybear at this stage. Really hoping to get past him as soon as possible. Perhaps used him for a bit of slipstream, that might have accounted for some of that lap time. TSR Stig, currently second after the first set of laps. Less than a tenth behind TSR Jimmy. Of course, he'd be running a little bit of ballast from the success he's been having in the previous rounds. Spinnerkopen, interestingly enough, in third. We thought that he had some pace around here. If there's yellow flags in the final sector, that's Alpha Nut that's pulled off to the side of the track, probably just waiting to get a bit clear air for a run. So Houdini Myers is currently fourth in qualifying. He's just dropped down the order a bit as some people have improved. That's Dynamic Carbon going fastest as anyone. That's a 106.6. So fantastic stuff from the Irishman. And in fact Nilsman only 19 thousandths slower in the Breitling car. So the BMW is again looking very strong. Locking out the top three positions of qualifying at this stage. These two currently 5 tenths faster than third place Jim Jam. Currently 7th GRM Bandit. From what I recall, he's not long actually bought the car, so wouldn't have had overly much experience driving it, but nevertheless he's doing a good job at this stage. Only 1 second off the pace. He's dropped down the order a little bit. Some other people have improved. That seemed to be I Am Groot. They set that would be a 107.3 approximately, and Wybear, who's just 2 tenths slower than that. John Wondering, who's making his way through the last sector. That Aston just a bit slippery compared to some of the other cars out there. He's rounding the last corner now. As he's also falling down the order a fair bit. Your boy Klondike saying Special Stage Route X needs to be added to the game, well, not the game, but the series. That would certainly be an interesting one. See which car is indeed the fastest on the straights. So John Wandering dropped from 10th down to 12th after the last set of lap times that was set. Sailor currently sits 10th where John Wandering was. So car number 11, the next gen machine, doing alright to make it into the top 10. We saw a fair bit more pace from them in an earlier round. I believe Nürburgring especially. It was quite a strong one for them. In 11th at the moment, it's the second HKS Vertigo car of Rob. So not doing as well as their teammate at this point, as Indeed, as soon as I mentioned Sailor showing more pace in Nürburgring, he indeed goes third fastest. The top three separated by a quarter of a tenth. This is absolutely insanely close for qualifying at this stage. 7 minutes gone. It's about 8 minutes left to go in the session. And an extremely close BMW scrap at the front. 3 different teams in the mix. As Spinnekoppen going into the pits, probably getting a fresh set of rubber just to go for an all-out attack, gaining whatever advantage they can at this point. So back down the order, Alphanut is currently 11th, again someone who we've saw a fair bit more pace from at the preview event, which was here, so they must have lost a little bit of pace since then, but nevertheless they are still charging around at the moment. 2.6 seconds off the pace total, 1.1 to Rob, which is quite shocking, but perhaps we will see. We will see. There's still a fair bit of time in the session to go, just past the halfway mark. As they've currently dropped down into last overall, as I believe that was John Wandering who improved their time. They're currently setting a personal best through there, but they give way to GRM Bandit, their teammate, through turn 4. Should probably stop flashing your lights for the cameras and focus on setting the laps, John. You're now down back to 13th overall, so that'd be less. At the moment, 2/10 to Alphanut, so that scrap for second to last is certainly getting quite heated as GRM Bandit goes for the pits. Still currently Dynamic Carbon with the fastest time of all, and Nilsman second, but not by much at all. He's coming up to a bit of traffic, but perhaps that'll help the German driver, as he'll get a bit of tow on the straight. Just cut back to Nilsman, to Carbon for a second. I don't know what happened, but he isn't going to get that tow, it would seem. Instead he's going to give the HKS Vertical car some of that. Indeed, it isn't an improvement for Nils. Sailor, another one looking very strong. The BMWs are absolutely dominating qualifying at this point. Highest non-BMW, incidentally, is the Audi R8 LMS of TSR Stig. No surprises there. Stig, of course, a very experienced driver. Interestingly enough, it's Drew, who isn't that far off of Stig's pace, actually, less than a tenth between the two Brits. It's a bit of a sketchy pit exit with Nils. But yeah, that's a very good effort from Groot here today. He managed to get himself within a tenth of the Maestro, Lord Stigworth. Cars getting out of the way of other cars on the straight. I believe that's Jim Jam who's coming through. They're currently 7th. Indeed, that is the case. So, replacing King of Torque for this particular round in the mission winner machine. Dynamic Esports, of course, car number 98. Is he on for an improvement? Looks like he might be, actually. See? 7. Indeed, he does improve puts him 6th. So in between Groot and Spinnacope, and again, that's another group that's separated by less than a 10th. Is Groot, Jim Jam, and Spinner. And Houdini Myers further 2/10ths back from that. So qualifying still extremely close at this point. We're coming towards the climax of it as well, so about 2.5 minutes left as Houdini Myers gets it all wrong, pile drives themselves into the wall at turn 3. He's going to have to get off the racing line because he probably does have engine damage. Let the car of John wandering through. We'll have to see. Oh, does he indeed just go to the very outside line and does let John through, very sporting of him. Good stuff to see. So the gap between Carbon and Nils is actually now 2/10ths of a second, so that has gone up with a bit of an improvement from Carbon. It's now 106.412. They're currently a 10th, nearly 2/10ths up in the second sector. And all they have now is the run to the line. So is there going to be another improvement for him? He's got a little bit of slipstream. Perhaps he's playing the slipstream quite tactically in order to give himself a bit of an advantage in that sense. It isn't quite enough to better his lap time. Meanwhile, it's a personal best for Nilsman. And still a personal best, so getting closer to Dynamics time. Just trying to give himself a bit of a buffer to Sailor as well. Extremely close at the top. We're into the final minute of qualifying. We've got Spinnaker open in the pits. Someone's gone off, actually. Who's that? I can't quite find who that is, but someone has parked up. Oh, here it is. It was GRM Bandit that's parked up, it would seem. And oh, what on earth? What happened there? So it seemed that there was a collision between Nils and Groot, as Groot's car wasn't completely ghosted or something on the exit of that. So that's going to put pain to Nils's chances of getting through this. Indeed, it looks like damage. Yep, in fact that's to the rear of the car. So that's quite interesting to note. As the flag should be called, I'll do that now. Nils goes into the pits. So it's a question of Sailor really, whether Sailor can improve on their time, as they're probably the only ones within a shot of taking the pole from Carbon. Gonna go on board with him. Smooth exit out of the double apex. Good turn in through the last little section. Oh, in fact he's on an outlap, so that isn't going to count. So that's interesting enough. Stig, he's parked up. The Dakwa machine not quite fast enough today to get pole. Of course the ballast will not be helping him in that sense. Interesting enough, it's actually Gugas who has the most ballast. He's currently running 1,365 kilos. And he's currently ranked at the highest on the success ballast tracker. So, from all of that, pole goes to this guy, it would seem, the host of the series, Dynamic Carbon. Great effort from the Irishman. As everyone is pretty much parked up. Just go through a live time at the end of qualifying. Here are the 12 cars that we have. So Dynamic Carbon, who you see at the bottom of the list, would actually be at the top of the list, but he's in the pits, so it'll be Nils alongside him in second. It'll be Sailor third. Group, a fantastic effort to get fourth. Has actually, hold on, missing someone from this list. We're missing Stig. Indeed, Stig's now back on the track. So, yeah, 1069. So that'll put him third according to this timing sheet. Actually, no, sorry, that'll put him. Wait. I can math. That'll put him fourth. And now, the wait for the race start. Officials waving the yellow flags. Oh, hold on. So it's been noted that Sailor was apparently running too much. So, because of that, I'm not sure if he'll be relegated to the back of the grid, actually. Wouldn't surprise me, because he would have gained an unfair advantage by having that power during qualifying. Indeed, it's been confirmed he'll start from the back because of that. Oh dear, pardon me. These hiccups just aren't going away. I really do apologise for this. Well, Sailor's sliding about now. And into the wall he goes. Well, the more you crash in this sort of wind down period, I suppose taking away the chances of crashing during the race. We'll have to see how that plays out for him. There we go, sorry about that. TSR Jimmy sliding about like a Slide McGee. Spinner cup and stationary at this point. Oh, now he's into the wall, of course. Houdini, he's not doing anything at this point besides causing yellow flags. What's new? Y-Base currently sits 8th according to this graphic. They'll probably switch around and stuff. As my phone is now installing apps for some reason. That's not good midstream. Oh, fantastic. Everything's going wrong today. So, if also GRM Bandit had the wrong settings or something, that might also end up putting him at the back of the grid. We'll have to get that checked over. With, of course, Dynamic Carbon host of the series. So, not long to go until the race start, we would hope. Again, it's a track that everyone, or a majority of competitors here, will have learned from the preview event, so they should have a decent knowledge on what to do, what not to do. And it'll probably all go out the window after turn 1, let's be honest. Finish that glass of water, and the hiccups are still here. Getting a ready call from the host. Things will be getting away shortly. Again, thanks to 8 viewers currently on stream and the millions watching after the stream around the world. Cars are readying up. More sliding happening courtesy of TSR Jimmy. So Dynamic Carbon making his way round. He's of course our pole sitter today. Took it with a couple tenths in hand. Still very fine margins. There it is, 0.193 of a second. And the final has been started. Hold on to your hats, folks. Things are about to get wild here at Blue Moon Bay. Fantastic weather for it as ever. So here we go, then we have Dynamic Carbon on pole, followed by Nilsman, 2 BMWs, 1 and 2. Then it's 2 Audis with the cars of Stig and Groot making up the second row. Jimmy, then Spinnerkopen, Houdini Myers, then Wyber. That is your top 8 as we're about to go underway here at Blue Moon Bay for round 3 of DRL DTM. Green, 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 and the cars are off. It's a good start by TSR Stig on the outside. They're 4 wide going in towards turn 1. It's a poor start from our pole sitter. As indeed everyone does seem to get through safely, and is TSR Stig trying to go around the outside of Nilsman, and he does so. So that is TSR Stig up into the lead of this one. Nilsman doing a good job holding on to second throughout all of that. Dynamic Carbon having a squabble with their teammate TSR Jimmy. Groot also looking to get involved. They dive down the inside and somehow managed to get through. Spinnerkopen also looking to challenge. Absolute insanity on the first lap here. Spinnerkopen trying to go around the outside of Groot. Does so successfully against Groot. Didn't get the best of exits out of the double apex. The lap 1, it is TSR Stig, our race leader, but look at this, Nilsman managing to stay with him at this point as they make their way down towards turn 1 for the second time. Nils is lining up the inside line, thinks better of it. But these two are starting to break away from the likes of Dynamic Carbon, it would seem. Extreme stuff already. Dynamic Carbon looking to chase these guys down. We're going on board with the Irishman. So from pole to third, he's not going to be happy with that start. But he's certainly proven that he is the pace around here to make the moves. Looks like Nils is getting ever closer to the back of Stig. Again, surely it's going to be a case of him challenging into turn 1. We'll have to see. He's already lining it up. We're not even at the start-finish line yet, so he's going to be alongside. He's going to try and force Stig into a mistake. Who's going to break latest? It looks like it's a dead heat between them, but no, it is Stig who holds on around the outside. This scrapping is allowing Carbon to keep with these two. Still, the pack forming a very neat looking train. I'm really surprised that we haven't had any major incidents at this point with so many cars. People always saying that Blue Moon Bay is absolutely terrifying in terms of this sort of stuff. Doesn't seem to be the case at the moment as they make their way through the double apex. Solid exit from the Audi R8, but it looks like the BMWs seem to just be generally stronger for acceleration through that little section. Nils again will have the benefit of slipstream while Stig won't. Going up board with Nilsman. Again, you can see the speed he's gaining. Looks like he gets a bit more of an overrun. And he's down the inside and he makes it stick. What a move from Nilsman, but he runs wide and that's going to allow Stig to capitalise on the inside, going through 2. And that's also opened the door wide for Dynamic Carbon. Nils is somehow still there. He has to slow the car down to not run Stig off the road. He's losing positions now. This has become a 5-way fight for the lead. This is absolute insanity. There's like 7 cars fighting for the lead now. What on earth is this race? We've never seen anything like this in the history of dynamic racing leagues. 7 cars still fighting for the lead on lap 4. And in fact, it's I am Groot who has managed to muscle their way up into second from all of that. Unbelievable scenes from the VRC Motorsport driver. He's dropping down the order a bit now as the train of cars are using the slipstream on each other. So that's Dynamic Carbon and Spinner Copen. So Spinner Copen taking advantage, looking like they're going to try and dive down the inside. Carbon manages to hold on for now, and all the scrapping behind him is going to allow TSR Stig to get away, as there's a massive lag spike from Carbon's car. Oh, there's a little bit of contact between Jim Jam and Groot. It seemed there as Jim Jam was flashing his lights. Looks like he tried to set something up as the two Nuke Shot teammates are going side by side through the hairpin. So Nils ahead of Houdini. Then a little bit further back, we'll see Rob and Wyber, so the two HKS Vertigo cars drop back, but they're still fighting each other. John Wondering also dropped back a little bit, and Alpha Note really not having a good time. They've picked up damage. Dynamic Carbon currently second. TSR Stig still leading this one, but now it looks like they've stopped scrapping a little bit, and it's allowing Carbon to keep with Stig. But behind them, look at this. It's TSR Jimmy who's making the moves now. Looking to go on the inside of Groot. We're going for an onboard shot of this. Looks like he dives down the inside relatively successfully. Groot's still just about there. He's gonna try and round the outside, and it looks like he gets that done quite successfully. I'm still extremely surprised that all the cars are so close together still. This is an absolute insane race at this point, and now it's going to be Carbon's turn to do what Nils was doing earlier, try and get it done into turn one. He's going to have the run, he brakes late, he makes the apex, and Stig will be looking for a cutback, but he doesn't run wide as Carbon, as it's throwing up sparks on the outside wall, currently on a personal best Sector 1. In fact, fastest of all Sector 1 from Dynamic Carbon, as he takes the lead of this race. But TSR Stig still in hot pursuit. Once again, a trademark of the series, 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 positions, as Spinner Copen is in third in that bright yellow Adidas Aston Martin. Current fastest lap set by Dynamic Carbon, it's a 1:06.627. And it looks like he's managed to break the slipstream. It's no longer the 7/10 gap. So, fantastic stuff from Carbon to manage to gap that to Stig. And now it looks like Spinner Copen's going to be challenging the Dakar car, is it? No, not quite on this occasion. A bit further back we have Nils and Groot fighting it out, as Houdini and Sailor also fighting it out. So plenty of action throughout the whole field. Some cars drop back, of course, having to nurse the damage that they've probably picked up, but relatively clean we've seen so far from the majority of the field, from what we've managed to pick up on the stream at least. Gaps are just starting to spread out a bit. Carbon's starting to run away. He's got a 1.1, nearly 1.2 second gap now to Stig. What is Lord Stigworth going to be able to do about this? He sets a personal best lap time. He's still got Spinner Copen to deal with the slipstream behind him, and It's also Jimmy who's managing to stay with these guys, so Jimmy's doing a fantastic job in fourth. It's a overall best first sector for TSR Stig. But still, Dynamic Carbon's gap seems to increase now, 1.3 seconds. A bit further back, it looks like Nils and Groot are going at it still. Sailor trying to get in the mix as well as a train of 4 cars here. Groot doing a good job holding these guys up. It looks like it's going to definitely be within the slipstream range though, does Nils. As he comes on to the straight, we're going on board with the machine. Trying to go alongside. Didn't quite get the kind of run that he would have wanted through that. In fact, we're seeing GRM Bandit catch up as well to the back of Houdini and Myers. So extremely close stuff between those guys. As look at this spinner Copen is being challenged by Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy has a massive slide going on. Manages to save it. Good stuff. Still, Spinner Copen representing Aston Martin well. Currently third, but he's under all sorts of pressure from Jimmy. Oh, bit of a twitch. Oh, just missing the wall, maximising that exit, and surely he's going to have a run on him. V12 versus V8 power. Actually doesn't look like it's going to be enough on this occasion unless he sends it. He's looking to send it. No, he thinks better of it. Again, you can see how harsh that banking is, that changeover. And again, the gap's increasing between Stig and Carbon. Well, surely Jimmy's going to be able to do something sooner or later. Look at this from the young lad. He's going to be trying to go down the inside of the hairpin. He's managing to do so. And he gets through. Spinner Copen couldn't defend from that. Although he'll certainly be looking to have another opportunity going down the straight. Fantastic battling going on. We've had just under a quarter of the race gone. And it is far from over, as we know. The scraps continuing to build. Literally anything can happen. But if anything, it looks like Jimmy's catching Stig a bit now. So these guys very, very close. And look at that. 2/10 purple in Sector 1 alone by Jimmy. Stig is definitely going to be hurt by the lack of slipstream. Jimmy's diving down the inside of the hairpin. They're still alongside. Give each other a fair amount of racing room. It looks like Stig will just be able to defend it. And that's just opened the door for Spinner Cup. And Spinner Cup is very optimistic regarding that. Jimmy's on the grass. That's going to hamper their exit speed. But not quite enough to allow Spinner Cup to make a challenge just yet. They're flashing their lights to the cameras and of course to Stig ahead. Look at the Team Spirit car all over the back of Jimmy like a bad rash. Although it is Jimmy who's diving down the inside of Stig, and it looks like Spinner Cup was trying to get involved with this fight as well. All of this, of course, allowing Carbon to extend his gap. It's now 4.2 seconds, nearly 4.3. But it is TSR Jimmy who is now up into second. But he's got a massive slide on, and he somehow manages to keep it out of the wall. Fantastic driving, but again, well, fantastic save rather, not fantastic driving. That's dropped him down 2 positions. and now he's got to make all up again from scratch. Although that's actually put Spinner Copen in a very good position. That's put them up 2 positions. They also have a bit of a slide on. Now the gap to Carbon 5 seconds, so Carbon in an absolute league of his own. Making his way down the straight. It looks like Spinner Copen's starting to get away. There's a bit of bump drafting going on between Stig and Jimmy. Both of them, of course, members of TSR, but Jimmy driving for Dynamic Esports on this occasion. With a bit of camaraderie between the 2 drivers. Perhaps they got a team radio going, who knows. They're definitely trying to stick with Spinner Copen. Perhaps they know that they're faster if they keep with Spinner Copen rather than fighting each other. Oh, it looks like Jim was looking to make a move, but Stig was also, so he had nowhere to go. Bit further back, actually, we're just seeing GRM Bandit has managed to get his way up into the points. So, although he was monitoring the battle up ahead, because of how close it was, GRM Bandit has managed to get his way all the way up here, which is fantastic effort for him. Nilsson just behind him in 7th, Houdini in the other Noob Shot car in 8th. Dynamic Carbon still miles up the road. Spinner Copen not broken out slipstream range yet, as we're having a pit stop for Houdini Myers. Do they have damage? They don't, so this is going to be their mandatory pit stop. A bit early, but why not, I suppose? Get the fresh rubber on. See how you go from there. Oh, Sailor looked a little bit twitchy as there's a bit of a fight going on between Nils and Bandit again. These 2 both competitors in the Nuke Shot Endurance Series. As well as here, of course, Nilsson actually drafted in as the replacement driver for Bandit after Bandit decided to leave for Moonshine Motorsports. So a little bit of a backstory for a rivalry between these 2, but it is currently Bandit that has the upper hand. Currently in 6th, Nilsson just outside the points in 7th. As a bit further up ahead, it is Stig and Sailor. So Sailor looking to go around the inside. Very fair play to them, has to slot back behind. Oh, but also look at this. Look how close it is between Spinner Copen and Jimmy. As that was Stig going off. Stig into the grass. We're gonna have to see this one again. What happened here? So he just overshot it into the wall, and that has picked up damage. Really unfortunate stuff for the Dakwa machine. Perhaps he's been nursing that damage for quite a long time. We don't know actually, but no doubt hitting the wall would have caused a fair bit of that. So surely that's going to force him to pit. Not over just yet for Stig, although he's dropped out the points. Stig has dropped out the points from that, and he does indeed bail for the pits because of this. Meanwhile, up ahead, Jimmy and Spinner Copen still fighting it out for 2nd place. And Jimmy's down the inside, and is going to continue having the inside through 3 and 4. And he gets it done, but will Spinner Copen be able to challenge? He's got the outside line going into 4. Very risky place to make an overtake if he did so. Indeed, Jim Jam holds on to 2nd at this point. GRM Bandit up into 4th. But Sailor's not done. Sailor comes back at him on the inside. But Bandit manages to hold on through the double apex. We'll see if we can get a little bit of a replay of how all of this played out. So Bandit was ahead at this point, actually. Oh, and there was a massive twitch from Nils, so Nils really struggling with the stability of his car. Again, it's going to be Sailor with the slipstream. He's looking to the outside line.com for everything DTM. Interesting move. It can certainly work through here. As you can see, he gets the cutback, and that's going to put him on the inside for turns 2, 3, and 4. Well, for 2 and 3 at least. And indeed, textbook maneuver around Blue Moon Bay here. But again, that's just allowing Bandit to fight back as he tries at the outside. That's bringing Nils into the mix. A massive slide from Bandit. And now Nils is going around the outside, going into the hairpin. Nils just trying to hold on to it. These two still side by side. Bandit just about manages to hold on to that. Great driving, great sportsmanship between all of these guys, really. The gap's starting to extend a little bit. Jim Jam has disappeared up the road from Spinnercopen. It's nothing to do with damage, in fact, so Jim Jam's just got so much pace in that BMW M6. Is currently a dynamic esports 1-2. Nilsman is looking to nearly challenge round. As Bandit actually gets on the marbles, they'll run him wide. They'll make him suspect for an overtake, as someone is also in the pit lane. Not quite sure who that is. It's Houdini. Houdini's in the pits. So, what's going on for Houdini? Houdini pitted earlier and he's just stayed in the pits. I'm not sure what's happened to him. He didn't pick up damage, we know that much. GRM Bandit still having to defend hard from Nilsman behind him. Oh, Bandit just clips the outside wall. And Nilsman just within that 7/10 range. Will start gaining a little bit. I don't think it'll be enough to challenge this occasion. Indeed, it isn't. Bandit looking like they've held on to it just for a little bit. They're starting to gap him a little bit as well. Nils, look at how wide he's going through the exit of turn 1. He's hungry for this. Of course, all of this accounting to championship points. Still not able to break the slipstream is Bandit as they make their way through the hairpin. Again, oh, that was almost looking out like he outbroke himself there. Indeed, he didn't quite make the apex. Nils, this Bandit is currently on a personal best. And now it is starting to look like Nilson's dropping back a little bit. Actually, Sailor, what's happened to Sailor? Sailor's going a bit slow. They haven't picked up damage themselves, have they? They have. So, Sailor with front aero damage, that's going to really slow them down on the straights, as well as cause them to understeer through the corners. Not quite sure when they picked that up. Must have been on the exit of second to last turn, just hitting the wall, I assume would be what it was. Sort of grazing it. And now that's going to put a cork in the bottle for Bandit, trying to keep Nils behind him. Nils again looking to the inside of the hairpin. These two giving each other very good amounts of racing room. We're coming up to what would be the standard pit window for everyone. 36 minutes left to go. It's a 1 hour race. Everyone tends to pick around the half an hour mark. And indeed, it's going to be Sailor who bails for the pits, no doubt to repair his damage and hope to perhaps get a bit of an undercut as well from that, as Bandit's still defending. In fact, that's Bandit's teammate John wandering up ahead, who's a lap down. So he'll be getting blue flags. He does indeed get out of the way of his teammate, takes to the grass. And Bandit in fact, through all of that, has managed to break the slipstream. It's now 1.3 seconds the gap. So Bandit doing a very good job. His last lap was a 1:08.3. Compare that to the current fastest lap of the race by Dynamic Carbon, 1:06.6. This man is absolutely running away with it at this point. 8.7 seconds is the gap between them and Jimmy. You can just see Jimmy in the background at your shot, actually. There they are, only just coming across the start-finish line. And they in turn have 2.8 seconds to Spinner Copen in third. So Aston Martin doing better than the Audis at this particular point. Highest placed Audi still probably TSR. Actually, no. Highest placed Audi is currently Wybear of the HKS Vertigo squad. I believe Stig has made a pit stop though, so that might have something to do with it. Oh no, because Stig picked up the damage and would have lost positions anyway. But yeah, indeed, that would have contributed because he did make a pit stop. But only 25 seconds down is the Indonesian driver, Wybear. About 8 seconds to Bandit. In fact, that gap to Bandit is closing down a little bit. Nilsman's dropped back. What's happened to Nils? Did he have damage? No. Hold up. Ah, he's got fresh rubber, so Nils must have made a pit stop in that time. So Nils looking for an undercut on Bandit, perhaps jumping them a little bit. They were losing the slipstream, so it was probably about the time to make that decision. They're currently 1.1 seconds behind TSR Stig. There you see Stig in foreground of this shot. And in fact they are gaining on Stig. So perhaps a new slipstream buddy for Nilsman. As they're 2/10 purple in Sector 1. Not too far after the slipstream range. We'll be hoping to get in that by the time they come around to the back straight or the main straight. The gap just gone up a little bit to 1 second as Spinner Copen pits from third. So the Team Spirit mechanics looking for that car to be in and out as fast as they can. Can't catch him, he's the Spinner Copen man, but he's not the Nilsman. So Spinner rejoins in 5th from that, so solid work by the crew. So that puts them ahead of the likes of Stig after they made their pit stop, so that is a very good work. Now hoping for a bit of an undercut on the likes of Carbon, but no, if you're going to run over the grass like that, Carbon stays out for yet another lap. There you see the tyres looking a little bit worn. They're about to lap Groot. So all of this time that Carbon's spending on this used rubber, and the cars behind him are pitted on the fresh rubber, he's going to be losing the gap that he created. Admittedly, it is a sizable gap, as he himself goes 2/10 purple in Sector 1, so indeed the tyres aren't losing their pace at all, it would seem. But still, you would have to think that the fresher rubber would certainly benefit the cars, although it would take a little bit of a while for that fresh rubber to get up to temperature. So perhaps looking for an overcut of sorts, as he's still 1/10 up through Sector 2, so this might be a new fastest lap of the race from Dynamic Carbon. We'll have to see. He's coming up towards the start-finish line now. It isn't quite, by just about a tenth, but it is 10 seconds back to Jimmy. GRM Bandit currently third. And he's going into the pits, making that mandatory pit stop, the bright blue crew. Looking to get him in and out as fast as possible. Bear also actually came into the pits. Interestingly, it looked like he stayed out, but no, he's in. So that's promoted Spinnacopen up into third. Bandit's already out the pits then, so he rejoins in fifth. Bandit rejoins ahead of TSR Stig. In fact, looking here, Stig and Nils. So Nils has really caught up to the back of Stig. Gonna be giving that Dakar machine as hard of a time as he can. Coming up to the hairpin, can't quite get anything to work on this occasion. But now you got to think with Stig probably getting into the slipstream of Bandit when he comes up to the straight, that it's going to be a lot more difficult for Nils to overtake him. Although admittedly he didn't get the greatest of runs out of that double apex, did Stig. Did have a bit of oversteer. Well, Stig, one of the drivers with success ballast today. The one with the most success ballast being Houdini. That is probably why you're not seeing them at the sharp end of the grid. In fact, it would appear that Houdini has left the race entirely, so that's a retirement. As it's looking like Stig is coming up, and in fact they're coming up to more traffic. That's John wondering, the teammate of Bandit, will he be able to play a bit of a part in helping his teammate out? No, it doesn't appear to be the case. He just gets out of the way of everyone. Bandit runs wide. He's slide McGeeing all the way around the hairpin. He's got Stig on his outside. He's defending hard. Again, surely it's just a matter of time, because Bandit is out of the slipstream of Sailor. Sailor's actually not that far up the road. Jimmy, meanwhile, comes into the pits. Where's Jimmy gonna rejoin? Jimmy is just exiting the pits now. So Jimmy rejoins the track in second place, as it looks like Stig is going to try something around the outside into turn one. Indeed confirmed as Houdini leaves the lobby. Unfortunate to see them retire here today. But Stig now looking all over the back of Bandit for any kind of opening, but he's also got to be careful because we have Nils behind him. So again, these three cars are having an absolute amazing scrap for the 5th, 6th and 7th. With 27 minutes left to go in this one, this could go either way of any of these. It's becoming more and more certain that Carbon will probably end up taking the win, but it all comes down to consistency on his part. In the past, he has managed to make mistakes at times where it's mattered most, so it is certainly not over for the win, especially with Jimmy, who's going to be charging in order to make up that time. Bandit's still defending well on the straight. Stig looking to the outside of him. Now looking for the outside of turn 4. Nils getting ever closer to these guys as well. In fact, we're probably going to go on board with Nilsman here. Got a fantastic view of the situation here. You can see different lines between Bandit and Stig. Bandit going a bit wider, and the exit of the corner, meanwhile Stig taking a bit of a tight line through there. And now it looks like, yep, Nils is definitely buried in the slipstream of Stig, and it looks like Stig might have dropped out of it a little bit. can't quite get enough of an overrun. As Bandit's going for a very wide entry. And he's very early on the throw. It looked like he tapped the wall. He's coping quite well with the pressure at this point though, is Bandit. And I'll give him that. It's an absolutely amazing scrap. As soon as I say that, he snaps on the exit of 4, coming down to the hairpin. As Nils manages to dive down the inside. And that could have so easily been contact, but not. It just shows how skilled these drivers are. Stig again looking to get a bit of a better exit. This is by far the closest battle on track at this point. The gap between the leaders, 12 seconds between this man, Dynamic Carbon, putting on a masterclass at the moment, and TSR Jimmy, who's got a little bit of traffic. And Spinner Copen, who's 3rd, Sailor 4th, and again, this train for the last few sections of the points. Of course, at the minute, it's Nils who is out of the points, and Stig and Bandit are just in them. It's all going to be crucial for the championship. We're going to go for a rear wing camera shot here on Bandit's car. Stig is looking a lot closer than he was on previous attempts, it has to be said, although the Aston Martin does seem to be very strong out of that second to last corner. Flashing the lights as well as Nils in the back, applying the pressure. Look at the Constantina effect as it's going down the inside. What will Bandit be able to do? Is going to try and hold on around the outside. All the cars understeering on the marbles though. And that is going to be Stig up into 5th. From that, it's certainly not over though. 2 purple and blue cars actually fighting it out for honours. And of course, don't discount Nils in that sort of dark grey and yellow machine. Nils sliding about. And again, Stig, he's starting to break away a little bit, but the Aston does have a good run through here generally. Not as good on this occasion, so perhaps it's just the dirty air that was affecting them. They've just about managed to stick in the slipstream, but this man behind him, Nils, more so. Looks like Bandit's going a bit defensive. Can't blame him. Again, 3 different manufacturers all managing to fight it out in an absolute dead heat. Nils looking to perhaps outbrake him going into 2. Very risky spot. It was the scene of an absolutely horrific accident in the Nuke Endurance Series last season, involving myself. I recall very vividly being sent into the inside wall, came to a dead stop and was essentially murdered. But nevertheless, there's a story for another time, as it seemed that Stig had a really poor exit out of there, but he hasn't picked up damage, has he? No. I just got a little bit worried about Lord Stigworth. Bandit flashing the lights. He's managing to get alongside with that V12 power of the Aston Martin coming in handy. And indeed he's back through. But Stig looking for a cutback. This is an absolutely epic scrap, and there's the one of the HKS Vertigo cars as well that they're coming up to. Not quite sure who that is at this point. Gonna have to quickly check, I assume. It would be Rob. So Rob getting the blue flag warning at this point. Stig cannot break away from Bandit. Now Stig flashing his lights to the traffic ahead. Again, as soon as you get to the front of this pack, you don't have the slipstream, and that's just allowing this effect to just constantly cycle through. As that's John Wandering on the inside, parked, I'm just trying to stay out of everyone's way. Again, John Wandering, fan favourite as he is, a very sporting person regarding being lapped and not interfering with lead battles when situations like that do occur. Perhaps would have gave them a bit of a scare, as there was probably yellow flags through that section while he was on the grass. Wouldn't surprise me. Lord Stigworth starting to find his rhythm a bit. Nearly 3/10 purple, actually. In fact, TSR Jimmy currently has the fastest lap. That is a 1 minute 6.491 from Jim Jam. So he's doing a fantastic job. The gap to Carbon, though, and our race leader still around 13 seconds. We've got a fair bit of work to do from that. Team Spirits, Spinner Copen, still third rather. Sailor is currently fourth. And Stig, and that's Bandit, who's just overshot it into the wall. And they picked up damage from that. So that is surely gonna put pain to Bandit's chances with that damage. Now it's just a matter of time for the Nilsman to capitalise, unless Bandit manages to hold on. He, if you recall, was the race winner here at the preview event, so it's certainly a strong track for him. Look at the kind of speed, though, that Nils is managing to close up on him. Indeed, the gap to Stig now about a second. Just going to be a matter of time. Bandit will be absolutely kicking himself here as he watches Nils go through, and with that damage it'll be very difficult for him to put up much of a defense. In fairness to him, he's looking for a cutback. But at the moment it doesn't seem to be happening for him. There's a bit more of a scrap actually going on with the lap traffic. That's Jimmy lapping Brute. Sailor, actually the gap between Sailor and Spinnercope and the battle for third, the last step of the podium, that is starting to come alive. It's around a second or so, 1.1, and the traffic certainly factoring in. We've got 17 minutes left to go in this one. It would appear that the Aston Martin Spinnercope set up for a bit less downforce, hence he's pulling away a bit. Oh, he's actually probably using the slipstream in order to get that effect. Bandit unfortunately having to bail for the pits. Shared an onion bargee with the wall, and it didn't work out for him. But indeed it has been a strong showing from him up to this point. He's going to try and see what he can do to salvage a result with the fresh rubber actually that he just put on that car. Perhaps try something. He's 3.5 seconds back from Y-Bear, so 7th is still on the cards. Y-Bear doing a very good job for HKS Vertigo, one of that team's stronger performances, I would say, just outside the points. There you see Bandit in the background, and in fact it would seem that Bandit has a little bit of backup, it would seem, in the form of this man John Wandering, who's ahead And in fact, it's just slid out. We've just caught that as it happened. So John Wandering just slid out, lost the car, and that is engine damage. That is extremely costly. He waits to rejoin the racing line safely. Indeed, there's no one around him, so he's going to have to pit for that. That is really going to put pain to him today. That car just looks so battered and bruised. He's currently around... Is that approximately 3 laps down? The 3 minutes and 7 seconds? Things haven't gone that well today for one of the American drivers here in America at the Blue Moon Bay Speedway. Here in the infield A layout, of course. Currently this man leading proceedings 13.7 seconds. Just keeps on increasing, doesn't it? It is of course Dynamic Carbon Series organizer putting on a masterclass. Still going purple in sector 1. He currently holds the fastest lap actually, now going into the 106.3s. Extremely impressive stuff from him, and it's his temporary substitution teammate TSR Jim Jam. Of course he's scoring points for the team. Won't be scoring points for King of Talk in the driver standings for obvious reasons. It isn't King of Talk. And a very strong showing from Sailor actually, who's coming under increasing pressure from Spinner Copen behind. The next gen car versus the Adidas machine. Who's going to come out on top in this battle? There's no traffic between them now. There's a bit of traffic up ahead, but nothing directly coming between them at the moment. Spinner Copen within the slipstream range, going on board with Sailor's car. Sailor's ship, if you would. Looks to defend into turn 1 quite well. Spinner Copen just about managing to carry a little bit more speed on entry. Less than a quarter of the race to go, and the final podium position still all to play for between these two. Could even be a car further back that comes into the mix with this. Or switching the onboard status to Spinner Copen's car. Indeed, Nilsman actually ahead of TSR Stig, only 5 seconds back is Nils. Still has Stig for company. In fact, you can see the battle for the last step of the podium up ahead. So the more that they scrap, and the more that Stig and Nils can work together, in fact, the more likely that someone here is going to get on the podium. This really is all to play for, with about 12 minutes left to go in this one here at Blue Moon Bay International Speedway. You can see the marbles really building up through turn 1. Tyres have been absolutely shredded here today. Turn 1's such an interesting corner because you have to set up the suspension to an extent that the car doesn't go too unstable through the change from the banking to the flat. These guys all doing a fantastic job. The gap is coming down between Spinner Copen and Nilsman. It was around 5 seconds. It's now continuing to come down. There's no traffic between those two groups at this particular point. Sailor still having to defend hard. They won't quite have the benefit of the slipstream from, I think that's the car of John Wandering up ahead of them. Oh indeed, look at this, Spinner Copen looking to get Aston Martin on the final step of the podium. Can't quite do it on this occasion, not overly desperate yet. Still got 11 minutes to wait and see this one out. Again, perhaps just waiting for a moment in the traffic where Sailor makes a mistake. We'll have to see. Coming up to lap John Wandering. It looks like John Wandering's doing his normal thing of just getting out of the way. That would definitely explain why John Wandering is so many laps down, actually. Because every time he comes up to be lapped, he does just come to a complete stop. And because it's such a short track, is Blue Moon Bay, just over around 2 miles or such. Might even be... yeah, it is around 2.18 or so. The traffic, when there's a lot of cars like we have here today in DRL DTM, it comes around so fast. So you can see on the mini-map of the track actually where everyone is in the top right of the screen. You can just see how spread out everyone is and yet how close together everyone is regarding the traffic. Everyone is mixed and matched all over the shop. Sailor's starting to get a bit of a gap to Spinner Copen. Starting to get a little bit suspicious that he picked up damage. That isn't the case. It just seems to be that he's dropped off the pace a little bit. There you see, flashing the lights in the background, that's Nilsman. Hoping that John Wandering gets out of the way before Lord Stigworth has a chance to attack. That was very nearly John oversteering into the side of Nils. Just about managed to keep that from happening. That would have been so controversial and such a disaster for both cars. But now John Wandering splits Nilsman from Lord Stigworth. Carbon, meanwhile, the lead of this race, fastest lap, 1 minute 6.114. You just can't really do much about that at this point. 8 minutes and around 30 seconds to go. The gap 14 seconds, as there's a little bit of an overtake, was there? I saw something change momentarily on the screen. It doesn't seem to be the case. Let's check in on Wybear. You can see him just ahead of his lap down teammate in the HKS Vertigo squad. Again, you could also see John Wandering just bailing for the grass, trying to stay out of everyone's way. There's a 3.4 second gap between them and Bandit. Tyres are starting to look a bit worse for wear, comparing them to Bandit's fresh set after they made the pit stop. Gotta actually think if Bandit didn't change for tyres, he might have been able to come out roughly in the slipstream of Wybear, and that perhaps might have been the edge that he would have needed to stick with him and perhaps gain that final point position. As coming into the pits, that would be Rob in 10th place. In fact, we're down to 11 runners, so someone has left. We know that Houdini left earlier on. Alphanut's here, Groot's here. Who are we missing at this point? Sailor's still here, Nils. Well, we've certainly had another retirement, and sorry, I can't quite remember who that is. There's yellow flags as someone's coming out the pit lane. I believe that would be Rob, actually. So around 8/10 the gap between Sailor and Spinner Copen for the last step of the podium. And again, this guy, John Wandering, just literally just parked on the inside of the track. Realises another car slows down to not meet him on the apex. Now he's 5 minutes down. But you've got to keep into account the fact that he is being caught by so many cars, and he's almost too gentlemanly about it. That he, you know, takes to the grass and comes to a dead stop and such. Still, this man, Dynamic Carbon, doing an absolutely outstanding job. Just 6 minutes or so to go in this one. tyres are looking a bit out of shape, but he's kept it out of the barriers for pretty much the whole race, and it has certainly paid him well. Didn't get the best of starts off the line, but he certainly made it back up. Now the gap around 15 seconds to his temporary teammate, the substitution, the mission winnow car. That is TSR Jimmy, or Jim Jam as I have given the nickname. And currently with the BMW 123 then, as Sailor still holding on for third place. Sailor, another one that we've seen pace from but hasn't necessarily managed to capitalize on the big results. So a podium he will definitely be happy with if he manages to keep it. But then again, so would Spinnerkopen. Spinnerkopen representing the Aston Martin fleet and Team Spirit, of course. And roadmen everywhere with the Adidas livery. Doing a good job, just about to stick with Sailor at this point. It looks like their tyres are starting to die a bit. The gap between Nils has come down. Actually, I've just noticed it's Stig. Stig's the one who has left the race. So what on earth happened to Stig? Stig will have to hear from him. Stig, if you are watching the stream, please leave a comment in the chat. We have no idea what happened to you. But of course it was really unfortunate because you were battling for points with Nilsman. It really hasn't gone your way then. That's so unfortunate to see. Perhaps it was just a disconnect or something. Although I believe it does still say he is in the lobby. I don't think I recall seeing a message saying he'd left. I might be completely mistaken on that. So Nils will have no real pressure as he focuses on getting his way up to Spinnerkopen. You see him up the road, gap around 2.5 seconds. The BMW seems so much faster through turns 2, 3 and 4 there. You can see about 3/10 taken out of the Team Spirit car, as they also see Groot in the Fujitsu bright pink car of VRC doing a solid job in 8th against someone who looked like they might have had the pace to challenge points. Isn't quite working out in their favour at this point. Someone else who surprised me with their pace today has actually been Wybear, only just outside the points by around 6.3 seconds. So in fact GRM Bandit has managed to get past Wybear on the fresh rubber. GRM Bandit coming through now. The tyres again not looking in the best of shape, but oh wait, no, that's Nils. Sorry, I still think that Bandit's in a BMW for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Here's Bandit. His tyres, of course, a lot fresher because he made that pit stop later in the race. Of course, where would he have been if he didn't have to make the pit stop? Because it was a case of picking up damage that forced him to pit again. We'll have to just speculate on that, I suppose, as we are coming ever closer to the final minute of this race. It has been action-packed from start to finish, and things are still not 100% decided. But at the moment, it is looking like a very strong bet that Dynamic Carbon will be taking the win on this one. The gap nearly 20 seconds to TSR Jimmy. So a fantastic day in the office if this keeps up for Dynamic Esports. They're having their cars 1 and 2 The series organisers looking extremely strong here at Blue Moon Bay here today. It's going to be one more lap for Dynamic Carbon. 30 seconds on the clock, and Dynamic Carbon comes across the line now to start what will be the final lap of the race. And their teammate, there you see them, TSR Jim Jam, just coming through the last corner. Will be coming across the line shortly. It'll be a question of whether Sailor actually makes it onto another lap. It looks like they might just be able to do it. It's going to be close for fourth. Spinner Copen and Nils. And Nils somehow on the line manages to get it. We need to see a replay of this. So we'll go on board with Nils. So look at this. Right on the line, it was a dead heat, and then Nils somehow manages to take fourth away from Spinner Copen right on the line. That was absolutely insanity. So Nilsman takes fourth, Spinner Copen fifth, GRM Bandit sixth, Y-Bear seventh, Groot will settle for eighth, ninth goes for Alpha, 10th will go for Rob, as it is Dynamic Carbon who's just come across the line now to take the win here at Blue Moon Bay in fantastic fashion. Congratulations to them, and of course congratulations to Jimmy as well on their debut here in the series, taking a second place, subbing in on very short notice, it has to be said, for King of Talk, and Dynamic Esports will be absolutely happy with that. Sailor takes third, of course, and congratulations again to our race winner, Dynamic Carbon. If you think about it, it wasn't a typical pole to win, as he did have to fight for it in the opening stages, but once he got away, he really got away, and that was absolutely amazing performance from him. The race results again, he eventually managed to set the fastest lap on lap 41. 1 minute 6.114, 19.1 seconds back to their teammate Jimmy, who finished the race in second in the end of it all, so not quite the 20 seconds, but still an absolutely dominant performance, lapping everyone outside of the podium. So what domination we've seen here today from the Dynamic Esports squad. And Sailor, congratulations to them for not being lapped, managing to stay within 4 seconds of Jimmy, to be fair. It is BMW's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and interestingly enough it's Aston Martin's 5th and 6th, so no Audis in the points in this occasion. 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th are made up of the R8 LMSs. John Wandering comes home in 11th, TSR Stig still yet to find out what happened to them. They just seemed to leave the race when they were in the points. They must have had a massive incident by themselves, considering that Nils didn't pick up damage and there was pretty much the only car around them, unless it was traffic. Again, Stig, if you're not in the live chat at the moment, please leave a comment after the stream has been put up saying what exactly happened on that, as the hiccups are still here, but I think I did an alright-ish job of that. And of course Houdini Myers was the other DNF. That was relatively earlier on in the race. Really unfortunate to see. But it is Dynamic Esports that have dominated here today at Blue Moon Bay. Thank you all for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure to commentate here today. Next round we will be showing next week, of course, and we will be heading for drum roll please, Autopolis. So a circuit that's very much different to Blue Moon Bay. It's by no means near as wide, so overtaking will be at a premium. Hope to see you there in a week's time. But until then, I have been your commentator, Noobshot off Apple, This has been Dynamic Racing League's, still not part of the Radio Show Limited network, and we will see you next time, folks. Goodbye.